What's going on, guys? Cultofmush back at it with another video, and this is going to be a topical video with the war between AMD and Nvidia and if AMD has a chance. Obviously, I'm sure most of you guys know about the whole thing that's going on with DX12 12. We still don't know too much about it. Nvidia has not responded, and right now it seems like a lot of gamers are giving Nvidia a lot of shit, and probably rightfully so with things like GameWorks, and just with a lot of shady business that they've been doing, asking developers to turn off features and benchmark. Just a lot of weird stuff. I've always been an Nvidia fan. You guys know that I run an Nvidia GTX 970 in my main rig from EVGA, and honestly I've had no problems with it. I've absolutely loved my GTX 970 even after that 3.5 or 4 GB controversy. I still really like my GTX 970. I'm playing games at 1080p and 1440p, getting really high frame rates and playing at really high settings, so I can't say anything too bad as far as my personal experience with the GPU. But I've been seeing a lot of people in my comment section on Reddit, on the PC Master Race and PC Gaming subreddits, people saying, man, I'm gonna get rid of my GTX 970, get an R9 390, or people are just taking out the 970 in their build plans and are gonna get an R9 390. They're not getting a GTX 960, they're getting an R9 380 now. And all these kinds of things, it seems like a lot of the hardcore gamers and a lot of people that are in tune with what's going on in the PC world are moving over to AMD GPUs, which in my opinion is a very good thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys also know about how Nvidia is absolutely kicking AMD's ass in the GPU market goes. Maybe not in terms of performance, but in terms of market share, AMD is getting completely smoked. Nvidia is getting all these big third-party game deals with games like Batman Arkham Knight. Yeah, the game was broken, but it's still Batman Arkham Knight. That game holds a lot of name value. Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, and Metal Gear Solid 5, and AMD has Dirt Rally. I actually saw a comment on one of my other videos. Somebody commented, Nvidia has Metal Gear Solid 5 and AMD has Dirt Rally. That should tell the story. And honestly, as shitty as that sounds, that speaks a lot to the casual gamer that sees that Big Boss is with Nvidia GPUs and Dirt Rally is with AMD GPUs. I know a lot of people probably disagree with that notion, but you have to accept that Metal Gear Solid 5 holds a lot more name value than Dirt Rally. The same could be said for The Witcher 3, and yes, the same could be said for Batman Arkham Knight. It just seems like as far as marketing and PR goes, Nvidia is hitting it on all strides. Except for that 3.5 GB fiasco, and except for this DX12 thing now happening. But the thing about these is I don't know if the mass PC audience are really in tune with the DX12 fiasco, or if they're really in tune with things like the GTX 970 only having 3.5 GB of video buffer. I don't know if the mass PC audience are really in tune with that. I do know for a fact when a new PC buyer goes and picks out their GPU and they see Big Boss next to the Nvidia GPU and they see Dirt Rally next to the AMD GPU, that speaks a lot to them. And yes, that sounds very shitty, but that's business. And then I see all these Nvidia fanboys saying, yeah, AMD sucks. It's like, do you even know what you're doing? You want Nvidia to crush AMD? That would be absolutely terrible. Do you know how business works? A monopoly is never ever good for the consumer. And right now it seems like AMD really has some momentum to actually fire back, and that's good. If you don't think that's good, I don't know what to say to you. People shouldn't want the GPU market to be monopolized by one company. Look, if Nvidia suddenly just kills AMD off the planet, that gives Nvidia all the more reason to be complacent. As far as software goes and drivers, Nvidia is just a touch above. But do you honestly think Nvidia's software and drivers and all those kinds of things would be as good as they are if they had nobody to worry about, no competition? Honestly, they probably wouldn't. What happens when a monopoly starts is these companies get complacent as fuck, and that's never good for the consumers. And this isn't really even about the DX12 fiasco. Yes, that is partly into it because now this finally gives AMD something to latch onto, something to persuade people into buying their graphics cards over Nvidia GPUs. Because honestly, and some of you guys might not even know this or think this, but it is a fact that to new PC buyers, AMD is just looked at as the second-tier product. For most extremely casual people that are just getting into PC gaming, they just see Nvidia as #1 and AMD as #2. The majority of people get into PC gaming because they see other people game on PC, whether it be big streamers or big YouTubers, and most of the time, people are influenced by some degree by those people. And guess what? Just about every big streamer runs an Nvidia GPU. A lot of the bigger YouTubers, Nvidia GPUs. That's just what has happened. People might not like it, but you have to accept it. So right now, AMD faces a very uphill battle if they want to take any kind of market share from Nvidia. Just with Nvidia landing all these third-party deals, with the kind of percentage perception that AMD already has, and a lot of you guys that are big on AMD GPUs probably don't even know about that there is a perception that AMD is the second tier product, which honestly probably isn't true, but the perception is there and it's real. Just the other day, it came out that a lot of DX12 games, upcoming DX12 games, were partnering with AMD, which is a very good step in the right direction. AMD needs something like that very badly. They need to, first of all, kill this perception that they're a second tier product, and then they can start building back up and taking some of the market share away from Nvidia. And I think if this DX12 pans out like I think AMD is hoping it to, I think it could lead to a lot of people jumping ship and getting AMD GPUs. But right now, I think Nvidia is still king. I think things are looking better for AMD now than probably a couple months ago, but AMD still has a long fight ahead of them. And I just want to know what some of you guys think. Are you sticking with your Nvidia GPU? Do you not care about this DirectX 12 thing? Do you think it's a bunch of bullshit and we have to wait for more games to come out? Are you like me and you're just in love with Nvidia software? Honestly, Shadowplay is king for me. Yes, AMD has game DVR, but all I've had with game DVR is problems. I have never had a single problem with Shadowplay. The Nvidia drivers are fantastic, and everything is just so streamlined, and the software on Nvidia is just amazing. I think for a lot of people, that's why you stick with Nvidia. For me, it's really Shadowplay. I just absolutely love Shadowplay. It's such a great software, and I think that's why I'll always run an Nvidia GPU, just because of Shadowplay. But I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think AMD has a fighting chance? Do you think AMD can get back in the race? I think they can. I think it's gonna take some time, and they're definitely fighting an uphill battle, which honestly a lot of AMD fanboys don't understand. And at the end of the day, I'm not a fanboy. Like I've always said, these are just companies that want your money. You shouldn't be a fanboy of these companies that just want your money. At the end of the day, I'm just looking for the best product, and right now, I'm really loving the Nvidia GPUs. I'm really loving Shadowplay, so that's why I have a GTX 970 in my main rig. But guys, I own a bunch of AMD GPUs too. I've used the R9 380. That's a fantastic graphics card, and I don't really give a shit what brand GPU I'm running in my system. At the end of the day, I'm looking for performance, and I think that's what the majority of you guys are looking for as well. So sound off in the comment section down below. Always like to know what you guys think, and as always guys, thanks for watching this video. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.